Hey, 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 coming to you almost live from our balcony in beautiful Ventnor Heights, New Jersey. What you can't see is the water that I'm looking at. It's beautiful tonight, folks. Okay, so Zach wants me to talk about the most money that I know of that was made on a car deal that, well, I wasn't part of, and the most money that we actually lost on a car deal that, well, I was part of. And then I don't know, I might sprinkle in a few tidbits of other things here and there because, well, I could find myself in storytelling mode. So we'll see. Um, should we start with the most money that I know of that we ever made on a car deal? It wasn't at a dealership that I worked at. It was at one of the dealerships in our group. Excuse me. It was a Ferrari dealership, and you know Ferraris they have a pretty good markup in them, and there was a professional athlete who shall remain nameless, um, who fell in love with a particular Ferrari that he liked. It was a pre-owned Ferrari, and he wanted to lease it, and he did, and well, the store only made, now I got to hold on to the railing when I say this, only made $84,000 in profit on that deal. Now, here's the really scary part, and maybe it's not so scary. The customer was absolutely thrilled, couldn't have been happier, thought that the people that he dealt with were just the nicest, sweetest people. Hell, they actually sent his child a miniature battery-powered Ferrari for him to use. And that particular athlete did come back and buy a second Ferrari because, well, God knows if you want to drive one every day, you're going to need more than one. And so he ended up getting two, but that was the biggest gross profit that any store that I had been affiliated with in one way or another ever made. Now, the worst loss we mentioned, I think, a week or so ago, which was on an Acura SLX, which was made for Acura by Isuzu, and it was a upgraded Isuzu Trooper. It was, I'll never forget, we had just gotten a new general manager, and the area manager was there, and one of our good customers from the group, and that group of stores, we had Porsche, we had Audi, we had Jaguar, we had Land Rover, we had every Highline brand you could imagine. And this guy just kept buying cars. And one day, while the area vice president was there and the new GM was there, he came in and he expressed an interest in this SLX that had just come in like a day or two beforehand. And he made what he thought was just such a ridiculous offer that there would be no way that the dealership could afford to take it. Well, little did he know that our past history with SLXs was like everyone we had ever had celebrated at least one birthday at the dealership. So these two guys looked at each other, the vice president, the area vice president, and the GM. They looked at each other and they said, they calculated out it was a little over a $5,000 loser. And they walked over to our customer and said, congratulations, you just bought yourself an SLX, because they realized if they didn't sell it to him, well, that was about to become a boat anchor. And, you know, we lived in a desert. So, you know, to have to schlep that SLX all the way up to Lake Pleasant so you could actually use it as an anchor was just a giant pain in the ass. So they took the huge loss on a car that had only been on the lot like 2 or 3 days, and we lost like $5,100 or $5,200 just to kiss it goodbye, because we knew if we didn't, well, it'd be a long time before we'd see a customer that came in that would actually express another interest in that vehicle. Now, I want to share with you a couple things that I used to do as a sales manager for my sales teams. When I worked at a Pontiac dealership, I invented 2 weekly bonuses. One, there was a $100 bonus that you got for having sold the the car or truck or whatever, used car, truck, whatever, with the highest gross that week, highest gross profit. That got $100 bonus paid in cash at Friday's sales meeting. Whoever got us to take the stupidest deal of the week, the biggest loser of the week, well, we gave that person $250 because, well, we thought that that person really deserved a bigger reward because, well, he or she was passionate enough and good enough to persuade us to lose like $300, $400, $500 to make a car deal for them, and then get a mini commission of like $100 and then have us pay them $250 in cash on Friday. And the way I would pay that is it was in ones. So, well, you can imagine what they could do with all those ones. Somebody once said you could make it rain, but it was really more like drizzle because they were, well, only ones. Well, okay, so if you're the Ferrari salesman and you have a deal that makes $84,000, and there's, I don't know, at a Ferrari store maybe a $1,500 pack. So I don't know, you take out the $1,500 and you're going to get paid on $82,500, and I think at that store they either worked on 18% or 20% of the profit. So I don't know, do the math. The guy sold one car and he had a pretty decent month. I'm pretty sure he sold more than one car that month. So you know, the Ferrari salespeople were making a nice living, and needless to say, the Ferrari managers were making a nice living. And well, come to think of it, the Ferrari customers were all making a nice living too. So, you know, it was, for most of those people, it was just chump change. For sales managers that worked in a store where we actually took a loss on a vehicle, well, that was a day where basically I got to pay my employer for coming in, because that I would get paid off the cumulative gross of the sales department, sales and finance. Well, if you have a deal that subtracts $5,200 from your monthly gross, and I got 2.5% or 3% of that, you know, I do the math. I cost myself some money that day, but that's what you had to do to sell cars, to get the hard cars out of there, and, you know, hope you make it up in volume, as somebody once said. I was asked by the general manager if I would be interested in going to our Ferrari store, and I was interested, but the general manager of the store that I was working at really didn't want to lose me. She just felt like, well, why do I have to lose my best manager so that he can go to the Ferrari store and make more money? And the area vice president said, well, no, it's a lateral move. He's not going to make any more money. And I remember having the conversation with the area vice president, and he looked at me and said, you know, an extra $50,000 a year isn't going to impact anybody's lifestyle. And I thought to myself, well, yeah, if you're making $1 million a year, it doesn't. But when you're making $150,000 a year, it sure does. So, yeah, we had a slight difference of opinion. Of course, he was wearing a $52,000 Rolex Daytona watch that he had paid cash for during our interview. And I thought, you know, yeah, you're right. $50,000 doesn't mean shit to you. But it means the world to me and my family if I'm going to uproot them and move them from Arizona to Nevada. And so, needless to say, I was disinvited. I was disinvited from that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think was okay. Yeah, you know, I didn't want to really have to uproot my family, so.
Yeah.
But it would have been, I mean, when I was at the sales manager, new car manager at the Acura store, at that time there were about 225 Acura dealerships. So I was one of 225 people in the United States. And our Ferrari store was like the 35th Ferrari store in the United States. And I thought to myself, well, do I want to continue to be one of 225? Or do I want to be, I don't know, one of 35? I thought it would be nice to be one of 35. But the area vice president did not concur. So there you have it. My general manager, she did not lose her best manager. And she apologized because she said, oh, I think I might have screwed it up for you. Not might have, you did. Yeah, there were no mites involved in this at all. But that's okay.
Yeah.
We survived. So, folks, I don't know if you've heard, but Zach and I are doing a podcast, Your Auto Insider. That would be me. And, well, I just want you to know, you can't see this on the podcast, but god damn, this bullet rides good. We should have another episode up, I don't know, later this week. It's always some interesting stuff. We talk about cars, car dealerships, and all the crap associated with both. And we have a great time doing it, and you just have to use your imagination that you know what we look like, and unfortunately you do. So for that, we apologize. So look for it on Stitcher, Apple, Google, and that's Spotify, where podcasts are found everywhere. Your Auto Insider, Zach and I, doing it for you.
Stitcher, my bad.
What'd you think?
It's awesome.